Hey, so we got Bernie's down here today. How have you been, man?
Good. How you been, Dane?
I'm hanging in there.
Good.
So you brought in a guitar for us to check out today.
I did.
All right, come inside. Let's take a close look at this thing. All right, brother. So what are we looking at today?
So what this is it's a, from what I can tell, late 70s, between 78 and 82, and it was a Les Paul Copy, and they were branded as a Memphis guitar. I believe you might call what's like a stencil guitar. They had one company in Korea. You can still see, actually, it's still got the tag on there. You can just barely see here, made in Korea.
Okay.
And
bolt-on neck.
bolt-on neck.
So it's not the Japanese one. As the years went by, they started making them in Korea.
Yes. Well, there's some stories that say it's actually made by Ibanez. I don't know if Ibanez was making anything in Korea at the time. I believe that it was like a stencil drum set. It's a stencil guitar. You could order it with a different stencil on the name on the headstock. You could order your own name or different appointments on the headstock. But they were pretty much similar in the construction. And this company in particular was out of Madison Heights, Michigan, which was just about 10 miles from where I grew up.
Oh,
so
wow.
There's a proliferation of them in the area where I grew up in north of Detroit, in
There's
Michigan.
a lot of them in there.
Well, I don't know if there's a whole lot, but there's in that area. It seems to be quite a few. They were you find them in Chicago, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois.
So there was a guitar shop in Michigan that imported these.
Yes, and I believe that they must have ordered them with this appointments on it, with the diamond on it, and with that headstock stencil. Because there are some different stencils of the Magnum, and then there's some different inlays that they did also on the headstock. But what happened was when I was a kid, I saved up my paper route money, and I was, I guess, about 13 or 14 years old, and I bought one like it. And as far as I knew, it was a Les Paul. You know, it wasn't $500 or $600 or $700 at the time, and for a 14-year-old kid saving up his money as a paper route.
How much was it back in the day?
$99.
$99.
And I think it might have been used when I got it at a music store. So I had it for about 3 years, and it got stolen out of my van when I was about 17, unfortunately. And I have looked for one.
But you know, the good news is when you were 17, you had a van.
Yes.
That's the good news. How cool is that?
Yeah, it took many years, and whoever must have ordered them, there must have not been a whole lot of them that came out of that factory or out of that store. And so I've looked high and low, and this is only the second one that I've ever seen. After mine got stolen, I did see one in a music store, but it was quite poorly, somebody had sanded it, and it didn't look very pretty. And what ended up happening was I've been looking for many years as a guitar tech. I've surfed eBay and Reverb, and only found this one that came up. And what I did do when I was a kid was I had taken out the cover plates, and my dad had a pencil grinder, and I ground my name in it. And I was hoping when I came across it that it might be the one that I had that was stolen, and I was going to find my name inside of it. But I didn't. But nonetheless, this one here is a pretty fine example. It's still got all the original hardware, the original knobs. This is the only pickup here that has been replaced. That's why I came down to Dane today. I thought he might have a box of stuff.
Mighty Mite.
Yeah. That might replace it.
Double slug Mighty Mite.
This is actually, here's the interesting thing. This is it's a dummy humbucker, a dummy coil. It's only a single coil. It measures 2.5K ohms.
Crazy.
You can believe that, yeah. And but it's still got the original pots in it, original pick guard. I just refretted it. Still got the original tuners. Yeah, you want to check it out?
Yeah, let me look at that. So
2.48.
Wow.
It's a monster. Stand back.
That belongs
Might catch fire.
in a neck position of a Strat or something, huh?
Not even. Those are even usually at a minimum
so
like 5
weak.
or 4.9 or something.
So you need a pickup for this thing.
Yeah, well, it's cool right now that the original one's in there. That's what I'm kind of considering, either getting a nice set of new pickups for it or just getting something I'd like to match it up. Actually, surprisingly, this pickup sounds louder than this one, which I think was checking out around 8 ohms. So for whatever reason, if they were just saving money, and the one when I had when I was a kid, when I took the pickup out to look at it, and I I looked it over. I couldn't understand. I was 14 years old, but I only saw one coil in there.
So you're down here. Yep, that is it.
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, it seems loud.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oops.
Seems just as loud for something, for only ohming out at that. Basically got your old childhood guitar back.
Yes. And I was telling the crowd here, what happened was when I had mine, being kind of the paranoid sort that I was, I took my dad's pencil grinder. He was a machinist, and I etched my name into the back of the cover plates. So I was hoping when I got this thing, I'd open it up and that my name would be in there on the cover plates, because I've only seen, like I said, 2 of them.
Wouldn't that be cool?
I opened it up and it wasn't there. So yeah, listen, this one here is only 2.5. I believe this one's like 8. I don't know if that sounds like it's out of phase almost. I don't know how it's getting that much output out of it.
Yeah.
2.9 or 2.5.
Yeah, it
ohms.
doesn't sound right.
This one, I think there's something wrong with it. I mean, that thing should sound like it's blistering comparatively, but.
And did you intonate it? Because I'm seeing your saddles are like really far back.
Yeah, and so what I was a little thrown by that also, and I think what happened is when they mounted the neck, if you can see here, this fret should probably be right at the edge of the body.
It's a little far back.
It's about 1/8 of an inch off. It looks like maybe and you can see because what happened here is the pickup ring collapsed because it's too close, and it's kind of crushing it there.
I mean, you could remount that neck.
Yeah, you'd have to fill the holes and, you know. But it did intonate, actually. I was right at the very end, and I lucked out because I was a little bummed out at first. I was like, oh, the neck's in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. But it did intonate. And
you went and you refretted this?
Yeah, last night. I was up till 3 in the morning. I came in yesterday at 3 in the afternoon, and I started doing a level
What fret
crown.
wire did you use?
It's the StewMac 150, which is 53 thousandths tall and 110 wide. So it's a jumbo fret.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was pretty excited about it. Yeah, I get to relive my childhood thing. And now I got me a nice little couch Les Paul. I'm going to put it next to the couch and have it. And
do you have the neck shimmed?
I did.
Did you shim the neck?
I did. And what I used was one of the StewMac Shims because it had just a crappy one of those plastic shim in there. And what had happened was over the years from it being torqued down, the neck had developed a bit of a ramping right there. So what I did was I used the StewMac wedge shim that you use for a Stratocaster. Right. And I shaped it a little bit and cut a couple holes.
What's the cost of a StewMac shim?
I think they're about $7
a piece, or do they sell them in a kit or
They sell them both in a kit, and then they sell them singly also.
Okay, we'll see if we can put a link to in the description below for those StewMac shims.
And that was they sell 2 different kinds. One is I think either 2% and the other's a 5%, or one's 5 and one's 10. The amount of shim it gets. Mm-hmm. And I had the smaller one. You can see it's bottomed out right there on the bridge as far down as as it'll go. Right. But I got just the right action. It's about 5/64 over here on the bass and 4 on the treble. Right. Yeah, I was pretty stoked that everything was really preserved as far as being original.
And when you're a 17-year-old kid, you don't know about shimming the neck and doing all that kind of stuff. So you're probably dealing with super high action. And
well, here's the funny thing about it is my 14-year-old self, I took the whole guitar apart because I was curious the nature of how things worked. Right. And it had this plastic shim in there that when I opened this one up, it had the exact same plastic shimming even there out of the factory. So they must have had these pieces of plastic they were using for the shim. And when it fell out, I looked at it and I remember, I was like, oh, son of a gun, there's that same piece of plastic. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't quite understand. I knew it was in there to shim it, but I didn't know anything about pitch and the relationship of it to the height of the bridge and all that. So, but yeah, it's a bygone era and somewhat rare because I think whoever the music store was in Michigan that was ordering the guitars, they might have ordered 10 or 20 or maybe 30 or 40 over a few year period.
Right.
But I've seen some sunburst ones also. And then there's some really nice black ones that they did with a set neck even. The Magnum, they had like the custom one that was more expensive that had a set neck on it. But it was fun to get this one here and get it set up and, have
Now, when you refretted this and you pulled the old frets out, they weren't glued down in there, were they?
They were not glued in.
There's no glue in them.
And that's why I decided to refret it because I was just going to
They just came right out.
Yeah, I was just going to live with the frets that were in it, but they were all loose. And I was like, well, if I either got to glue these in right now, and then if I do want to refret it, I'll have to go back and clean out all the slots, or I'll just refret it right now. So I just decided to refret it and put the jumbo frets in it. And it survived all right. There was already a little bit of chipping, and out here the plastic was real thin out here on these edges. And over time, when the wood shrank, the old fret ends were already poking out and chipped up the.
But the tang of each fret, you didn't have to cut it so that it would be behind the binding here.
I did have to.
It sticks out over the edge a little.
Yeah, and I had to undercut the tang.
Oh, I see.
To hang the
you did have to
tip
do that.
over the top. Yeah.
Okay. Nice job,
And
man.
so
Nice job.
what's funny, I'll tell you about it, what's interesting, and I couldn't understand this when I was a kid. I took the pickups out, and there's a gap. There's an air gap underneath here. You hear it?
Yeah.
It's hollow.
Okay.
So what they did was they pressed the arch into the top, and then they glued it on, and this is hollow. There's a block, and then it's hollow out here on the ends. And then it's here.
So what do you think the weight of the guitar is?
It's probably about 5 pounds or so. But what was cool is, because of that, it's got a really nice acoustic resonance.
Yeah, you
It's
don't
like a chambered
necessarily
guitar
have to plug it in.
It's a single action truss rod. I planed the neck. I didn't have to put any relief back in the neck. It's got my 7s that I bought from Dane.
Truss rod's working good.
Dunlop,
Oh, you put 7-string gauge on there. Wow.
Dane turned me on to the Billy Gibbons 7s, and I've been using them. And
that is so cool.
Still got all the original potentiometers in there. This is the original pickup. This one was changed. And from what I can tell, original pick guard on it here. And this thing also is interesting. It's like aluminum, anodized aluminum, actually.
Yeah, that looks nice.
It's been real fun to have it and see it and get a chance to go back. You know, I've been fixing guitars for 30-some years. And, when you're a kid and you're interested in guitars, you take things apart and you don't understand everything and you just try to learn. And now with 30 years of experience, I look at the guitar and it was a real joy to go back and look at everything and relive when I was a kid. And, the potentiometers were confusing to me and the neck pitch was confusing.
One of my first guitars that my parents bought me in Christmas of 1977, well, Santa Claus brought it. It was an Ovation hollow body, like a 335 style Ovation electric.
Yeah.
I had one of those as a kid.
Here, actually, I'll show you a picture here of my 2 guitars. I also had a guitar that I got for Christmas, was my Tiesco. So that one's a mid-60s Tiesco. I forget the number on that one there. And then there's the black.
That was your collection as a kid.
Yeah, the black Magnum Les Paul.
And what's the amp in the background there?
I believe that was a stage amp. And then not pictured there is my Big Muff, which the Big Muff was the secret to unlocking.
The tone.
Yeah, the pick of destiny.
Yeah,
the pedal of destiny.
That was the tone, man. If you had a Big Muff. I had the little Big Muff through a Fender Bandmaster.
Yeah.
All right, well, the only thing left is for you to play this thing for us a little bit. So let's plug it into an amp.
All right. Got some distortion in there.
Yeah.
See, that's what I remember it being really microphonic at high gain. Yeah, let's see.
Those frets look great standing from right here.
What's that?
The frets on that look great.
Yeah.
From just standing right here looking at that thing.
Well, that's
It is, you getting some 60 cycle hum out of that.
yeah. It sounds like
Maybe
I cleaned that
you're
pot, but it sounds like that pot's a little.
So you're just gonna go through the electronics. Although this pickup sounds good to me, and it doesn't. Is it humming?
No, but it'll. It's not. If
Are you hearing the 60 cycle hum because it's?
It's
a
really
single coil?
microphonic. You hear how microphonic it is?
Yeah. Talking to it. Can you talk into it?
Hey, chip, 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 chip. A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. They must not have wax potted them back in the day. Either they didn't understand the technology, or they were just really cheap and they didn't do pretty crunchy. It's actually the single coil in there is pretty punchy.
Now the 7-gauge strings. Got 7s on that thing. Are there any tuning? What do you know with these 7-gauge strings? What's it doing to that guitar?
Well, with this one here, right now, when I in my haste last night, I was up till 3 in the morning putting the new frets in.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to work on this pickup, and I was just excited to get the strings on it.
Right.
So the nut isn't glued in, so it's been shifting from side to side, and I'm having a little trouble with the tuning right now because the nut is moving.
Right.
But I've been playing the 7s on my other Les Paul. I've gone like 5 months without ever breaking a string on them.
Very nice.
And it's caused, what it's done is it's made me play lighter and grip lighter and pick lighter. Mm-hmm. So it's actually helped improve my timing a bit, and it's actually helped improve my speed, because you have to control that light of a string, you have to play very light. You can do some pretty crazy bends with it.
Yeah.
But I didn't stretch these strings
But
either.
you don't get carried away in your bending now. After a couple of months of having that light gauge, it becomes normal, and because when you first put them on, you're just
it feels
you're
like
so carried away with bending the strings.
Yeah, it's hard to control them. Well, what happened was I was having some problems from working on guitars for all these years with my fingers, and damaged being a carpenter. I pulled some out of the socket, and I've had accidents like everybody does over the years. And I played 11s for about 15 years, and what happened was that they were just a struggle to play. So just out of necessity, I kind of stepped down to the 10s, thinking, well, that'll make it easier. I'll extend my years of playing, and I didn't want to develop arthritis, and I felt like I was already having trouble with pain in my hands. So I did the 10s for about maybe 4 or 5 months, and I was like, you know, I'm going to try the 9s. I like the 10s. I stepped down to the 9s, and then another several months went by, and I thought, well, I'll try the 8s. You know, why not? You know, I played them when I was a kid, and every time I stepped down over a period of a few months, so it wasn't like I just went from the 11s down to the 7s. I played the 8s for about 2 years until I came in here, and Dane here at ZIMM'S Guitars had a set of the Billy Gibbons Dunlop strings, and I thought, well, what the heck, I'll try those also. And so after stepping down each time several months in between, making the move to the 7s really just made it pretty easy, because I didn't have to struggle. And sometimes, honestly, the 7s feel now a little hard to bend, or I feel like they feel not as like loose as you might expect. So, but you can get pretty crazy with them.
But that's always in standard tuning. There's never a chance where you're down a half step or anything like that.
Right. And then also what's happened here is that this one, I just put the brand new tall frets in, the jumbo frets.
Right.
My other Les Paul, I play with the stock frets, which are only 40 thousandths tall, I think 85 wide, so it's a normal fret. But these big frets here is like almost like a scalloped neck feel is what
Right.
it is. So there's really no air underneath there, or no fretboard. There's an Eddie Van Halen lick in there somewhere.
Right. Thank you, Bernie.
Yeah, you're welcome.